It's my favorite time of the year. Happy days for me because I'm fishing a lot. The reason being is one, the weather. For me, I kind of tracking all these years. I think September and then the early mid October has the flattest, calmest weather periods throughout all the year. Summer times in general are supposed to have the calmer winds versus like winter, fall, where we get those northerly storms pushing through. But I think September in general gets the most calm time frames, minus Hurricane Irma season. But and this month follows that trend exactly. The first 10 days here, the first week, flat calms. We're talking sub 5 knot winds. And then this weekend that I'm in now, we've got kind of a edge of a tropical storm that's kind of way off, but we're just catching the tails of it. So it's jumped up to like 15 knots. And then after 3 days, I think it goes back down to 10s and 5s for the rest of the foreseeable future. And that's just exceptionally rare in the Keys. But I've been kind of tracking it these last few years, and September has seemed to be that great time frame for that. And like I said, that carries through October, which is good because then we start getting those little bit of a cool off. So it's still like right now in September, it's still summertime heat, 90, 100 plus heat index. But you get those flat calms, means you can go out and do any type of fishing you want. It's basically unlimited, and that's why I'm taking advantage of it this first couple of weeks of September. The second reason why is there's nobody here, okay? Keys are fairly dead, at least for in regards to on the water and people fishing. The key reason being it's kind of normally a shoulder season where the American tourism kind of drops off. Kids going back to school that mid-August, September time, early September, they're going back to school. So that's generally the cutoff for the summer vacations. And then the family kind of drops off. And that's our main summer tourism is the American families. Usually what happens is pre-COVID is then the Europeans and then the Canadians and then the Asians, especially the Chinese this last few years, really start flocking into the Keys. And then so our drop is like very minimal. It's just maybe just a slight dip, and then we're busy, and then it ramps up to our peak, which is after Thanksgiving, December, when our snowbirds come back, and then people coming from escaping the winter time. But right now, an example, this last week, during the middle of the week, Monday through Friday, I think I made it to the reef and offshore 4 times, and I could probably counted 6 or 7 boats in total, with 2 of those being lobster boats that I was watching drop off their traps, and then they just headed back in. Out of 4 days that I was out there, I see a total of basically 5 or 6 boats fishing, or assuming are fishing, or either that or diving out there, and that's it. That's the whole time that I was out there. And I'm there usually from about 2 to 3 o'clock until evening time. And one time I stayed until pitch black, like 9 o'clock at nighttime, just to test out the lighting and stuff. And there's just nobody out there, nothing. I went offshore and didn't see anybody anywhere. So that's also a huge benefit to me personally, because no one at the docks to deal with, no boat traffic to worry about, no all the jet skis, nobody. There's just nobody out there. I assume on weekdays we still get the people at the sandbars, and there might be a few more people fishing, but in general it's like really nothing. So that's also a big benefit I'm seeing now of that September-October season. Now in regards to actual fishing, a couple of things that definitely are changing. One, if you've been watching some of the videos, is Pilchards. Now, that's huge, okay? I'm starting to see them basically everywhere. I had that kind of hole spot by the Veterans Park where I'm getting those Pilchards, but I'm seeing them on the edges of the channels. I'm seeing pelicans diving. When I'm going out to the reef along the channel edges of the flats there, I'm seeing them. And I even did a night trip where I shined my light down into the water, and it attracted the glass minnows first, and then underneath Pilchards came up, and they're just darting through there. So they're pretty much laid out quite a bit. I was actually seeing them in the backcountry when I've been in the back running the edges of the mangroves. I'm running into schools of Pilchards. So that's huge. That's a very valuable bait resource. So definitely if you're coming down now through the coldest winters of the end of the year, those Pilchards should be stacking up quite a bit and quite a bit heavy. And that opens up the game to so many more species and making fishing so much easier. Also, not so much September because we're still 90 degrees with a 100+ heat index. The water temps are still high 80s. I mean, on the flats, I imagine that water's 90 degrees. So it's not so great for the fish, some species, but it kind of sort of changes a little bit starting in October, where we'll start getting a little bit of a cool down, and then we'll start getting those cold fronts starting to shift down a little bit more in November and definitely in December. And that's going to kind of change things up a bit as that cooler water starts getting our mix in. So probably that October you're going to start is our transition seasoning, where you're going to start seeing more of the offshore fish start moving in closer to the reef, and some of those reef fish start moving in closer to the patch reefs, to the edges, into the channels, by the bridges, and so forth. So that also kind of ties into an exciting time of the year where you still have the great bonefish, permit, tarpon, the grand slam fish, the summer species fish, but then you start getting the winter fish start moving in closer at the same time, and that opens up to everything and anything. So that's why I really love it. Winds are down, so it doesn't matter. I can do flats, I can go offshore, and everything in between, and that's why that September, October is awesome for me. Another factor that I've been dealing with is this mess, the AllAboutTheBait.com web store. That's been a big focus pretty much actually throughout this whole year. I actually moved from Key West to Marathon strictly for more square footage in this house here. Basically quadrupled the amount of floor space that I've got from Key West to here. And that was strictly so that I could grow the AllAboutTheBait.com web store, which I've spent a lot of time, a lot of money doing this first year. The goal has been to get all of my new products, my new lines of products, as well as to do replenishment on all of my existing products before July-August timeframe. The reason for being is a couple. The main reason is hurricane season. June, July, August, that's kind of like the beginning of the hurricane storm season in the Keys. Then you start getting into September, October. That's kind of like the medium risk time frame, and then the end of October, November, early December is kind of the peak hurricane season, the most dangerous time of the year. So my plan is to try to get the bulk of merchandise in, even to last through the fourth quarter around that August, September time frame, and then I would just sell out as much as possible through the fourth quarter. Okay, and reducing my risk every time I sold a shirt or a jig or whatever, and taking that money and banking it. So if something happens and the marathon gets wiped out, I've got that money reserved and I'm still okay, and I can rebuild and do whatever. Hurricane hits now, that would be big risky because I got a lot of money involved in a stock right now. But that kind of thrown me off because of the fact that I get UPS, FedEx, RPS, USPS deliveries every single day, and I can't not be here to receive them because my orders are $5,000, $10,000 shipments. And I know some of the companies are struggling right now with the COVID shortages. So now, before I would just deliver them right to my door, no big deal. I'd still want to make sure I'm there to receive them, but now they're just dropping them off, basically not even in my gate, outside the gate. They're just lump of them and then they're off because they're busy and short-handed. So that's definitely, I can't just go off fishing and leave $5,000-$10,000 just sitting outside, not even for just because of porch pirates, but with rain all the time during the summertime, storms coming through. So I have to kind of wait till I get all my deliveries before I can even think about going fishing. And that can suck because they can deliver up until 8 o'clock in the evening, nighttime. So it's been really a hassle, definitely in August. And then it slowly tapered off. And then I'm finally, last week, I think I got my final shipment in of my new stock in. So I'm really well off. And that's kind of the reason why I was able to fish more in the first 10 days of September than I was able to in July and August. So that's how much of an impact that has been. And finally, and primarily what this video is all about, is the changes going forward to the videos. Now that I've got some free time, I want to kind of change things up. First big change is you're going to finally see me do more of the reef and offshore fishing. This last year, I wanted to focus on the Middle Keys, and that's primarily the backcountry side of it. Reef, offshore is pretty similar regardless if you're Key West to Key Largo. So I wasn't too concerned about that part of it, but the actual backcountry stuff is the key part for the Middle Keys. So I wanted to spend some quality time there before I moved on, but I'm fairly comfortable. So I'm going to start bringing out the new red kayak. I built that for offshore stuff. Finished off probably about 3 or 4 months ago, and I've hardly used it. But now you're going to see a lot more action out there. That's my primary style of fishing that I enjoy the most, is getting out there in the blue water. So expect that. Second, I'm going to change up kind of the format of the videos themselves, because I was doing a lot more of the prospecting and looking for patterns and figuring out techniques and that kind of stuff when I was doing the backcountry fishing. It doesn't create a lot of good videos, so I ended up kind of reverting to more watch me fish and reeling fish and Instagram moment hold a fish, that kind of videos. And I kind of want to go back to where I used to do more of the fundamentals of the what, the where, the why, how, learning the migration patterns, the bait patterns, and those details of what I'm doing and why and so forth. So I'm going to kind of put more time into that and still just show just not as many fish pose parts of it. So you expect that. In regards to the All About the Bait store, got some changes I want to add in there, or actually add more of those. I've been adding a lot of new products this last year, a lot. And the thing with my products is the majority of them are my own custom designs. They're just my own baits that I wanted to carry. So there's a whole process involved with those, from me finding a need for something that I wanted, that I needed, but I just really couldn't find. So I would have the concept part of it. Then I would have to do the actual design and the CAD design of that bait. Then it would go to a prototype. Then it would go to the mold processing, then the production of the baits, and then the colorizations, the different models. Then it would come to me, and then the stocking and the restocking and all of that. So there's a whole plethora of stuff that goes into just one bait there. So I like to do some videos on that. And also I need the more videos for the descriptions on the actual website, showing them in motion. What drives me crazy when I see those videos like, oh, I've got this new bait. Boom, this is the new bait for 2021. And if you don't have this bait, you're not going to catch a fish. Look at it. It's shiny. It's sparkly. Buy it now. Okay, that's all you get. But they never show you what the actual movement is underwater, what the fish sees, which is kind of the most important part. So those kind of videos I want to start getting back to making for all this new stuff, and primarily so I could post those on the website, as well as the rigging and going to the informational parts of why this bait, when to use the bait, how to use the bait, how to rig the bait, and so forth. So a bunch of stuff like that. But anyways, that's kind of what I'm going to be start doing here in the future now that I've got some free time built up. So expect that. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I will see you next video. Bye.